Good evening, friends. Jai Hind. I am Major Mohammed Ali Shah. I have the proud privilege and honor to be in conversation with a very, very illustrious general officer who often I take a lot of guidance from. And he needs no introduction at all. We all know him. Of course, Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan, PBSM, ABSM, YSM, SM, VSM, PhD. So I should be saying Lieutenant General Dr. Shokin Chauhan has been the Director General of the Assam Rifles. He's been the chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group. Well, he spent a large amount of his childhood in the northeast part of India as well. In fact, he's telling a very nice anecdote to me recently when he was in Mokokchung as a small little boy. We will discuss on that as well. But he has written a very fine book called Bridging Borders, which would be released next month by the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff. And of course, as we all know, the CDS is from the Gurkha Rifles, and from the 611 Gurkha Rifles, that is General Shokin Chauhan's battalion, not just a regiment, but his immediate battalion, and General Shokin Chauhan is his immediate senior subaltern. And we will talk about this book, and what I have gathered is about the India-Nepal relationships in a crux. We will talk about the landscape and about the India-Nepal relations overall. Let's go ahead straight in and converse with General Chauhan. Sir, Jai Hind, and thank you very much for taking your time, sir.
Jai Hind Ali, thank you for calling me. Always an honor, always honor to be a part of your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So let's talk about what inspired you to select this particular title for the book. Is it because you are from the Gurkha Rifles? In fact, you are second generation. Your father also was from the Gurkha Rifles. Is that what led you to like this topic, sir?
Absolutely, Ali. It's a lifetime of love and commitment and respect for these wonderful soldiers of Nepal. My background, as you said, is like you. I'm the second generation in the regiment. I was born in the regimental center. The first language I spoke was Nepali. I've always had great love for these boys. And when I joined the regiment in 1979, it was always, I wanted to know more about them. Wanted to know more about their life, their struggles, their difficulties, their languages, their people. And that's the reason why during my annual leave, I would often go to Nepal, spend it with my soldiers and their families, trekking in Nepal. And I found the more I came to know about them, the more there was to like them. They're wonderful, simple soldiers. They give their life to us. They follow us. Wonderful, wonderful soldiers. And the reason why I called it Bridging Borders is of recent years, Ali, you have noticed that there's a great deal of dissonance between our country and Nepal's political relations. We have no difficulty, no dissonance in the person-to-person relationship. But politically, we seem to be a little apart. And politically, we feel that Nepal is going more towards China. And we wonder why this is happening. So when I started to study about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this was the main thing I wanted to do. I wanted to learn for myself what are the politics involved, what are the processes involved, why is Nepal behaving the way it's behaving, how does it affect us, and how important is Nepal to us strategically, how important it is to us culturally, and what are the people of Nepal like. And like I said, the more I came to know, the more I wanted to tell the people of India that, look, these are wonderful people. And just because Nepal is a small, tiny nation and has no job opportunities, no employment opportunities, doesn't mean that they are poorer. These are wonderful soldiers, and we should never let go their hand because of whom they are. So that's the reason, Ali, I chose this subject. I chose to write my first book on this subject, and it's a lifetime of love and commitment for
Yeah. So the closest I could get to the Gurkha Rifles is when I served with the Assam Rifles. In fact, as you know better, they had a lot of people from Nepal. In fact, a lot of
Yes, yes,
Thapa,
yes.
Rana, Grung, Chetris. They were there, and we had a
Absolutely.
wonderful people, sir. Sir,
Absolutely. Yes.
sir.
I agree
So,
with you. And you
sir,
must have realized that how wonderful they are as people. You know, often they say officers take the personality of the soldiers they command, and we also become like them, open-hearted, happy, deal with issues, and that's what I learned from them. That no matter how difficult life is for them at home, they don't bring their difficulties to their job. They continue as happy soldiers. They continue as very, very good soldiers. They follow you. They'll follow you till death. And they will always tell you that, look, Saab, I am with you. You don't have to worry. So this is something that only a good officer can tell you how important it is to hear this from your men.
sir. So, in fact, I'm wearing my Assam Rifles tie. In fact, you have noticed this, the mulberry
Yes,
color.
the grey
Yeah,
Majri color is amazing. And it's similar. The commitment of the Assam Rifle soldiers is similar. Um, and I've enjoyed commanding the Gurkha Rifles, enjoyed commanding the Assam Rifles. I was also the commandant of the 11 Gurkha Rifles. So, all in all, I've had a wonderful time with my soldiers. I miss them immensely. I miss this interaction immensely. And I would give my life
sir.
for that.
Sir. So, you just mentioned that the first language you learn to speak when you were born. In fact, you were born in the center, in the Gurkha Rifle Center, and was Gurkhali. In fact, I just a few days back, not even about a week back or so, the current Director General of Assam Rifles, General Pradeep Nair, he had gone to Nepal, sir, and he addressed the troop, the ex-servicemen over there, in Nepali. And I saw the video. He sent me that video and fluent Nepali, and he's from Sikh regiment, and he thought he's from
I was
GR.
very, I was very happy to see that.
Sir,
Actually, I remember as a young child, my boys, my 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 father's buddies used to teach us Mero Khas Gaon, Nepal Chhaw. And that was something that I learned from them, and I would utter that all the time when I was young. That my main village is Nepal. The boys taught us that, and that was what we used to talk about. We were in difficult places when I was born. We were in Samba, we were in the, difficult field areas in 1958, 59, 60, 61, 62. The war was there. Post the 62 war, we were in Mukokchung. And this was a language we heard so often. And the more you learnt about them, the more you learned to love them and respect them. That I decided actually when I was a colonel. I, as you know, was the India's defense attaché in the Indian embassy in Nepal, and I had carried with me a great deal of knowledge about Nepal when I was posted there and selected to be the defense attaché. And even during the time I was a defense attaché, Ali, I used to continuously go and visit my soldiers in their homes in both East Nepal and West Nepal. So I have traveled from the easternmost point of Nepal to the westernmost point of Nepal, from Taplejung, Dehradun in the east, right at the Mechi River. I have gone all the way to Hitauda in the west and come out across the Kali River and reached Pithoragarh. So that complete area of the Middle Hills is very well known to me. I spent a lot of time there. And,
so you have
during the
taken that
time,
route from Hamla district to Pithoragarh, which is 70 kilometers from Pithoragarh.
absolutely.
Sir.
So I came out from there. I've trekked in a lot of our soldiers' homes because there are very few roads in Nepal. So everywhere you go, you actually get off and you start walking to their homes, and you go to their homes and you realize how simple they live their lives and how important it is for you to understand the simplicity of their lives. And that is why when we look at India and we look at Nepal's relations, there's so many people who say so many things about Nepalese. Let me assure my countrymen that Nepal is a wonderful nation. It will never, never let us down. Uh, There is a problem in the political leadership uh, that is not, uh, you know, does not have the mandate by the people of Nepal. The people of Nepal love us as Indians, and we love them as Nepalese. We have a relationship that goes back many centuries, which no one and no power, no China, no one can replace. So, this is I hold this love very closely in my heart, and I have seen for myself how important it is to love these people, how important it is for us to understand these people, and that's why throughout my book, uh, all 5 chapters, I have tried my best to bring this love, this knowledge, the knowledge of
Za, Za.
uh,
The video has.
to the readers. I've written it in as simple words as possible, done a lot of research, gone back to many centuries from the time we started. They started as a kingdom of Nepal. In, you know, as you're aware, Nepal was, has been ruled by many kingdoms. But when it was unified by Prithvi Narayan Shah uh, from the Gurkha, from the kingdom of Gurkha, from that time onwards, what were the complications for Nepal? What were the battles they fought? They fought both in Tibet and in India. There was a time when Nepal from the west had extended its empire right up till Kangra. That is from Tauda, it crossed the Kali Nadi, uh, reached out and captured what we call today Uttarakhand, Garhwal, Kumaon, and in fact had captured territory and built a fort near Kangra. And on the east, they held Darjeeling, they held Sikkim for a while. So they were a fairly extended nation. And they also had a lot of wars with Tibet. Uh, Finally, they signed this Treaty of Thabatali. So throughout my book, I've tried to explain this reason, that how they extended themselves, how they overextended themselves, how they were cut down to size by the colonial empire, uh, boxed in between the Kali River and the Mechi River. They've lost Sikkim, they lost Darjeeling, they lost Kumaon, they lost Garhwal, and finally they came down to the size that they were. So I've interspersed this book with a lot of research, with a lot of stories, with a lot of military history to show how the Gurkhas came into serving the British, why they did that, and how post-independence we got hold of the Gurkha Brigade, and how well they have served us. So, in complete, these are the issues that I felt was important. I have, as a soldier, tried to deal with the politics of the problems we have. But there's a chapter 3, I call the baggage of the past, where I have tried to enumerate the problems that exist between India and Nepal. Both the boundary issue, which came up a couple of years ago, the issue about the Kali River having changed its course. I also covered the politics of water, as I call it, the reason why India, you know, has a problem of water, how hydropower with them, and what they really feel about it. I've talked about the boundary, like I said, I talked about the water, I've talked about the rivers of Nepal, I've talked about the treaty, 1950 Treaty of Peace and Tranquility, I've talked about the transit treaty. So I've talked of all these issues, which are actually outstanding issues between us and Nepal that we've not been able to rectify. So I've dealt with each issue. You can't talk of India and Nepal relations without talking of Nepal-China relations. Why does Nepal have this China relationship at all? How did it come by? What are the complications in Nepal's mind? What are the issues in their mind? Why do we feel that they are now leaning towards China? These are all issues I have covered with the whole chapter called In Nepal and China, where I've started, their coverage from 1750s, because Tibet was always a neighbor of Nepal, and Nepal would always carry out raids, can, declared war on Tibet many times, and every time Tibet would be saved by China. So that's how Tibet and China and Nepal have a different relationship. So that's
So
how
you mentioned,
I've laid out the book. The first chapter deals with the background of Nepal. The second chapter deals with our relations with Nepal. The third chapter deals with Nepal and China. The fourth chapter deals with Nepal, China, and India. Okay. And the third chapter also has the baggage of the past, our problems with Nepal. And finally, the last chapter is the vulnerabilities, India's vulnerabilities, and why it's important for us to keep Nepal with us, and why we must not lose sight of the larger strategic goals in Nepal. So that's how I've laid out my. It's a lot of research. I've spent a lot of time on it, almost 10, 15 years of my life writing about, and I'm glad I've been able to finally get published.
wow, sir, we'll be very happy to read this book. I mean, after 10, 15 years, in the light of day, I mean, I can well imagine. My father wrote a book and I saw him logging it out. It was there in his back of mind for for years, rather
Yes,
decades, I would
yes,
say.
yes.
And
I
finally, he
remember
did pen it.
reading your father's book. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
reading that book.
Sure. So you mentioned about Nepal-China relationship. In fact, about almost 3 years back or so, in the strategic area of Lipule, Kalapali, Kanapani, Limpudura, China, they came in and they constructed pillar number 11 and 12 near Hamla district, rather. That's 70 kilometers from Pithora, which you had just mentioned. So the prime minister at that time, 3 years back, he said he had kind of denied it. He said he didn't really admit it. But then through satellite imagery, when this actually came about, the Chinese had entered the territory and were doing slummy slicing. There's a habitual practice with China, in fact, of doing slummy slicing. So anything you would like to say about China's behavior of doing slummy slicing, sir?
China is doing what is endemic for China. She's always firstly trying to change the balance. China, to her, this territory means nothing. It's a tri-junction actually between Nepal, India, and uh, Tibet. China is a usurper country. It conquered Tibet and therefore now has become a neighbor of India. So all these actions that China does, the salami slicing and whatever you call it, are actually attempts by her to keep us contained within a particular area.
Yeah,
She wants to create enough problems for India so that India can't develop further. We are hemmed in by China's relationship to Pakistan. We're hemmed in by what we call a threat from Pakistan, only because Pakistan supported by China. Similarly, she's changing the rules in Nepal, forcing us to confront Nepal, and as a result, forcing us to stay in our area, uh, confronting our smaller countries, and creating this problem that India has no power. India is just a small power within the subcontinent of Asia, of, of South Asia, and India cannot be taken seriously at world stage because to China, she feels she's the middle kingdom of the world. That the world starts from her, and she doesn't want any competition at the world stage. If you go to China, like I have spent a month there, China talks about India in page 17 of their newspapers, if at all. Their first page, second page is full of their relationship with America. That's whom China is challenging at the world stage. So if she doesn't want another challenger from her own neighborhood. To China, India has to be contained, and that's what she's doing. All these actions are meant to contain India, and she will keep containing. She will not finalize her boundaries with these countries. She'll keep pushing these countries. These countries will be forced to be pushed to us. She will keep creating crisis situations so that the Indian armed forces are continuously involved in this area. And as a
Right.
result, we don't look beyond ourselves. We don't look at the Indian Ocean. We don't look at the intermediate neighborhood of the West Asian, South Asian, and Central Asian countries. And forget our relationship with the world power. This is you're a small nation for us. So that's how it is. That's how you have to look at China and her current way of thinking.
Yes, sir. Sir, I had the honor of interviewing Major General Ashok Mehta on the Gurkha Rifles, in fact. And he shared some very nice, very interesting anecdotes about after he retired from the army, his association with the Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. Because when we talk about Gurkha Rifles, of course, legendary figure Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw's famous line, if a man says he's not scared of dying, either he's lying or he's a Gurkha. That certainly comes into mind. And so he threw some very, very good light. So let's talk about your association probably before or after, whenever. When आप कभी मिले फील्ड मार्शल सैम मैनेक्शॉ साहब से सर?
Yes, मैं मिला था. In fact, बहुत बार. Uh, when I was commissioned in '79, he had retired. He was a though field marshal doesn't retire. He's always on the active list. But I remember that he visited my unit. Uh, I was his liaison officer for 5 days,
Okay.
and I had the honor of being with him for those 5 days to see him, to see to feel the brunt of his personality. Amazing person, amazing ability, amazing perception, and I learned from my when I saw Field Marshal how he looked at life and how uh, flawed our vision was about the way we looked at life. So the Field Marshal was he was like this huge towering personality. He was tall, of course, physically very tall, very imposing, an amazing sense of humor, and more importantly, very perception, a lot of perception. He would say something to you, and amazingly, you know, you would realize that he has noticed some issue or the other. And that's the great thing about leaders is that it's not that they are fooled, but that they don't don't want to say anything at that moment because that might be misconstrued. He was always conscious of the fact that he was a field marshal. He was always conscious of the fact that he should not impose on the army, and he was always conscious of the fact that the current at that time in 79, 80, that leadership should not be disturbed by him. And I was a second lieutenant. I was his liaison officer with 5 days. Learned a lot just seeing him grow. And I remember he said, you're from the Gurkha Rifles. I'm very happy because you've chosen the right regiment. And one felt very happy listening this from the field marshal. We would talk about different things. He was at that time a director of some 15, 16 Tata companies. He would talk to me about them. He would talk about leadership. He would talk about the problems of the soldiers. He would talk about the Gurkhas. He had a lot of love for the Gurkhas. He would continuously talk about those issues with me. He would tell me that son, you must go and meet them in their homes. You must see how they live. Later, when I was, when I passed the staff college exam, and I went to attend the staff college exam in 1990, we were to meet Sam Manekshaw again. He, those days used to live in Konur, at this beautiful home called Stavka. And all the Gurkha officers of the course used to be invited to this house, where he would take us around his home, show us his home, show us the Field Marshal's baton, and a lot of love he would shower on us, serve us personally. And that's when you realize here is the Field Marshal, but he would serve us with his own hand. He would say, "Come, Major so and so, let me give you some more beer, or let me do this." And he would talk about so many different issues, which gave us an idea that a successful soldier need not only talk about soldier. There are so many different hues to it. So that's what I loved about Sam Manekshaw was his open personality, the way he interacted with people, and even though he was a field marshal, he would uh, he would serve himself, and he had this huge array of jokes and incidents of the Gurkhas which he would narrate to us of his life with the Gurkhas, of his buddies who were staying at home, of their families, and that showed how perceptive he was and yet how down to earth he was. An immense,
So,
you know, when you meet a person like that, you realize that a great person doesn't keep a distance. You realize that he is great, but he keeps engaging with you. And we really missed Sam. He was a very good leader.
so, so let's talk about your Mokokchung days. I mean, an area where I have Nagaland especially because, as you know, I the way you speak Nepalese, I speak Nagamese in fact, almost, but not that good definitely. So, in fact, Mokokchung especially क्योंकि आपका बचपन भी वहाँ पे बीता है सर. You were there as a Fauji brat as well, and later on as a service officer. And of course, I
That's right,
mean,
because my father was
sir,
posted in 61 as a wing commander. That means he commanded two companies in a place called Chunky. That is a
sir,
little ahead of
I know
Mokokchung,
Chunky very well, sir. Sir.
which is the home of the Ows. So we stayed with him for almost 2 years. I was three, four, five. Those were impressionable ages. And we had these wonderful soldiers who would look after us. So once again, when I went I unfortunately didn't get a chance to, as a younger officer, to go to Assam Rifles. So only when I was selected as the Director General of Assam Rifles that I got this chance to be there. I went back to Chanki. I went back to 10 Assam Rifles. My father was the wing commander. I saw the visitor's book and saw his remarks. So it's an amazing homecoming for me. And once again, like all hill people, the Nagas are also very open-hearted people. And the
Sir.
owls
True,
welcomed
sir.
me to their homes, and it was very nice, really, really
True,
nice.
sir. Sir. So, like there's the Alichan district very close to Chanki, in fact. So they have their Chungli and Chanki. In fact, Mungsun. I speak Mungsun, sir. In fact, they're sub travel dialect. So
Wow.
my our friends had nicknamed me as Major Ali Ba, Major
Okay.
Ali Ba Jamir. And the logic and the reason they would give that is because my name is Ali, so Aliba and Alila. Alila would be a girl's name. So Aliba and Jamir because my father's name is Zamir, Lieutenant
Hmm.
General Zamiruddin Shah. So Zamir. So Aliba, not Lamkumar, not Waling, but Aliba Jamir.
Jamir.
So that's how.
Yeah, Jamir is a very respected name
Yes,
within
sir.
the house. Yeah, after Chief
Yes, sir.
Minister,
Sir.
Jamir is there. He's
Sir.
been with Chief Minister for a long time. So
Sir.
yes, it's a wonderful people. The Owls are also what a very good tribe, a very modern, very educated tribe.
Exactly, sir. Mr. S.T.
And
Jamir, the former governor of Goa and Nagaland,
yes,
he was an
yes,
owl.
yes.
Sir.
I
The
met
all tribes.
Mr. Jamir, and we used to converse a lot.
Sir.
But
So,
it's
lastly, I would like to ask you, so your book, Bridging Borders, how can we get hold of it and when is the book release? And have you zeroed on the date and the venue? And how could people lay their hands on the book, sir?
good question. So I have told my publisher that he should make the book available. So the link he should be doing soon. The book is set to be released on the 21st of May. Uh, the CTS is traveling at the moment and hasn't been able to take a decision. But I'm hoping he will agree on 21st of May. And it would be released at the USI Auditorium in Delhi. So this is as much as I know at the moment. But I will definitely let you know and give you the link. And if
Super.
how people can do early orders of the book, that would be lovely.
Yes, I'm sure it would be on Flipkart and Amazon as well, so we can order it online
I'm
as well.
certain. But all this is
Yeah.
not dependent on the publisher actually,
So,
because he's the person who takes the
who is the publisher, sir, that you chose?
Pentagon Press, and publisher is Mr. Rajan Arya. Very good
Which press, sir?
printing press.
Your voice was it
Pentagon,
was
Pentagon Press. Pentagon
okay.
Press.
Pentagon press, sir. Right, sir. Sir, sir, we look forward to reading your book. I had a
Thank you.
very enjoyable conversation with you. It was truly wonderful, sir. It's always
Thank
wonderful, sir, connecting with you, be it through messages, be it on a phone call, be it always a pleasure to hear you, sir. So much to learn from
thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very
Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind,
Thank you.
sir.
Jai Hind.
Just going